Mike, there's a storm coming. Things are going to get bad. We're going to be tested. Just know we're good.
This is Dave Life with DLTV News. Bad Boys Ride or Die was released this weekend in theaters, marking the fourth movie in the successful franchise starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. In the past year, Will Smith has come under fire as a result of the slap against Chris Rock at the Oscars. About a year ago, Will Smith did issue an apology. Let's take a look at what he said.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did, and that was one of the things about that moment. I just didn't realize, and I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment. So I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I want to apologize to Chris's family, specifically Tony Rock. We had a great relationship. Tony Rock was my man.
So as you can see, Will Smith did go to his Instagram Live about a year ago, and he did make a public apology to Chris and to Chris's camp. And he reached out for a response, and Chris's camp responded, "Not now. Chris will reach out when he's ready." That was a year ago today. So as you can see, this weekend, Bad Boys Ride or Die, the fourth film in the franchise, was released to great fanfare. Originally, some people thought that it wouldn't make the 40 to 50 million domestically in the box office. It actually came out the gate on fire, making 56 million domestically and over 104 million worldwide, making it the second best opening in the franchise, second only to Bad Boys 3. In the box office, Stephen A. Smith said in his podcast yesterday evening that Will Smith owes an apology to Black people. He says that Will Smith owes an apology and that he can't support Will Smith until he sees that, maybe a sit-down interview. And I've spoken to a few people on this subject, and I have some people here that are going to help me out. The first person that I want to bring up is a DaveLifeTV News contributor. His name is Drew. I'd like to bring Drew to the stage so he can discuss with me whether or not he feels that Will Smith owes an apology. Drew, come on to the stage. Good to see you, Drew. Welcome back to DaveLifeTV News. Let's get straight to it. Before you'll go and support Will Smith and all of his movies, do you feel that he owes anyone an explanation? And if so, who does he owe an explanation to the most?
That's a good question. I'm not going to say that Will Smith owes anyone an explanation, but I am going to say it would be nice to get an explanation. I will say I agree with Stephen A. Smith, not necessarily 100%, but about 90%. I don't think the apology needs to be centered just at, or the explanation needs to be centered just at Black America. I think it needs to be spoken publicly, because it's not just Black America that consumes Will Smith's products. It's all of Americans, and that's why you see the huge numbers coming in with the latest installment of the film. As for me personally, yeah, I've written off Will Smith until further notice. I agree with Stephen A. in the sense that I want to hear an explanation. I heard the apology. It was weak as the slap was. I want to hear an explanation about why. And I think Stephen A. Smith nailed it on the head, because there's more to it than just his apology where he says, "I apologize." He didn't seem remorseful. He didn't seem sorry. Then he talked about his own, he made it about himself. He talked about his own personal therapeutic needs or whatever. I don't want to hear that. You slapped a man, a much smaller man, a man smaller than you in stature, size, and publicity. I want more than that. After you laughed at the joke, 10 seconds later, you came up and slapped him. I need more.
Okay. So you need an apology before you'll support his films, or an explanation.
Yes.
All right. So let me bring up someone else. Drew, hang out. I'm going to bring up someone with a differing opinion. And let me bring up Queen Sheen from the After Dark podcast. Sheena, come on to the stage and give us your opinion. Hey, Sheena.
Hello, hello. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for joining on Dave Life TV News. Usually you're on the podcast. So thanks for
I know,
joining the
right?
news tonight. I appreciate it.
Yep,
All right.
no
So
problem.
Sheena, I got my friend Drew on the line. He's waiting in the green room. He's already answered the question. He does believe that Will Smith owes an explanation to someone. So I want to ask you, do you believe, like, before you'll go support his movies, do you believe that Will Smith owes anyone an explanation? And if not, why not?
So I don't believe that Will Smith owes the public an explanation. Granted, yes, he did apologize, or he, went viral trying to apologize to Chris Rock. Now, maybe that's something that, he needs to get on the phone or have a face-to-face with, but just publicly saying, hey, let's go, I want to have an interview. One, I feel like that's going to be messy because people in America are messy anyway. And two, like, they ain't paying Will Smith bills. They gonna get paid regardless. So I just feel like I do understand Drew's point of view, but I guess for me, I'm just like, nah, he don't owe them nothing, because all the things that goes on in this world, we're worried about if Will Smith owes the public an explanation. There's so much other stuff that's going on that needs explanations that we don't get, and it's swept under the rug. So I would support him still.
So you would support him without an explanation?
Yes, because this is my thing. First of all, that happened a year ago. And on top of that, not my monkey, not my circus. And he knows what he did. Now, maybe he reacted off emotion, and what he did wasn't the right thing to do. Obviously, smacking somebody on live TV was not the appropriate thing to do. But at the end of the day, I just don't understand why he needs to give an explanation on all of that. The Grammys, they banned him. He had all these consequences. And guess what? I'm pretty sure Chris Rock got paid real good, and it's other stuff that's going on. Like, I know some stuff that Will Smith did and do. So
I feel you.
and
I feel you.
Jada and his kid, they're supporting him. Even with the movie, they were there for the red carpet. Even if they were separated or whatever they have going on, that's still
Yeah.
their personal life. And I think we get so much into the weeds of what's going on in people's personal life that we can't even mind the business that pays us. So that's
Okay.
just my 2 cents.
All right, we need to mind the business that pays us, okay? I want to get a professional comedian's opinion. This is someone who has been on the show many times. He's a regular on Dave Life TV News and on the After Dark podcast. Let me bring up my homeboy, Tony Love. Tone, what's up, Tone?
What's going on, Dave?
Man, good to see you. Thanks for coming back to Dave Life TV News.
I appreciate you having me, man.
So look, Tone, we talked a little bit earlier in the comments, and you don't believe that Will Smith owes anybody an explanation. Can you tell us why?
It kind of reminds me of something in the Bible where, it says something about let ye who lives in a glass house cast the first stone. Something like that. Right.
Something like that. He that
Something
has,
like that.
yeah. Go ahead.
Who are we to judge? It's just like, are we saying to Sukiana, you have to explain why you have lyrics about eating booty before we support you? Are we making Megan Good explain her Tory Lanez situation before we support her? No. This man, he put out an apology. Not only that, Chris Rock waited for his own terms to talk about it, got his own Netflix special, got paid millions of dollars to talk about it, and talked about Will Smith family like a dog, meaning they good. Why do we choose to bring this up at a moment where, like, it's one of his highest moments? Like, he surpassed all that. Bad Boys out, 104 million. Now we want to bring this up. Like, why are we doing this? Like, as if we ain't never messed up and asked for forgiveness before.
Well, you make a good point, Tony. You mentioned in our conversation earlier, you definitely mentioned Sukiana. You mentioned Megan and Tory, and then you said does Carisha have to explain?
Does Carisha have to explain why she been messing with Diddy this whole time before we support her album sales? And you out here with Saucy Santana, and Saucy was in them parties too. but y'all out here supporting. Why would they ain't got to explain nothing? All that is cool. That was between two men, mind you. It was wrong. He apologized. Why Jada ain't got to explain? Why we want to make Will, because he's the big movie star. He got all. Come on. He done paid for that. You can tell he knew he was wrong for doing it. He was under that witch's spell, and he made a mistake. And Chris Rock got his ass back intellectually. You seen that special? He talked about Jada like a dog. Talked about that whole family like a dog.
Selective outrage. The views of the guests on Dave Life TV News are that of the guests only.
Don't say that now. You ain't say that for the first few. Okay, don't even worry about it.
All right, Tone. Hang out in the green room, Tone. I want to bring someone else up. I have one more person that I want to bring to the stage. She's a regular on the After Dark podcast, and she's new to Dave Life TV News, but she has an opinion on this subject. Come on up to the stage, that girl Sophie. What's up, Sophie?
Hello.
Good seeing you. Welcome back to welcome to Dave Life TV News. Normally you're also on the podcast with Sheena. So I got a question. Do you believe that Will Smith owes an explanation to anyone? If so, why or why not?
I'll lead with saying he owes an apology to the person that he had the incident with. I am a believer, and it's kind of a thin line. In the same way that we have the situation, I feel like in the same way you should like maybe give your apology. In this case, it was in front of the masses. And as the other co-host has mentioned, he did get penalized from the award ceremony. He lost some contracts. So I feel like he's really kind of paid his dues with that. Will Smith, just if I can just keep it like directly on him, he's in a very precarious, a weird situation with his family, with his wife, and it's just a weird spot. And furthermore, like his children, I know Jaden was actually quoted on saying like, and that's just kind of how we do it. So I feel like with children that are growing up in Hollywood children, there's a certain type of disconnect. And then also with Will, he's gone through so much, and me being an empath, I empathize for him. I understand when he's saying that he was foggy or he was blacked out. This guy has got a lot going on with his wife, and she continuously embarrasses. I'm for men, I'm for black and brown. So I am not going to be like, oh yeah, you got to go ahead and apologize to me, or you have to give an explanation. You give the explanation to who you have to give the explanation to. If Chris Rock says he's not ready, and you still want to go ahead and give it to get it out the way, so that you can move on, because forgiveness is not for the other person to accept or deny. You hope that they would accept it, but if not, you have to be able to move on in your life. Will has a lot going on, and I'll even throw out there, who's the bigger celebrity in all of this, you know? And I feel like the numbers don't lie. Chris did get his lick back, as he should. And I feel like it was a very wise way in which he chose to get his lick back. He made his money. I believe Chris Rock was quoted as saying that he doesn't give a F about it. And if he doesn't, and he wants to stand on it and move on, then let him move on. Will Smith did not molest anybody. He didn't touch anybody. He doesn't have any videos other than the slap. And Will is just in a very weird situation. So I think, yes, you need to give an apology, not to me, not for the audience. It's great that you do for us, but I'm not canceling. I don't feel like he needs to be canceled. I think you need to give him, everybody has a reaction. We don't know what the behind the scenes are in their relationship. There's been so many things that has kind of come about. Will and Jada have a very curious relationship that they kind of give out in bits and pieces. Jada's now saying that she's open to reconciling with Will. There's a lot of just weird stuff going on. Not my, as Sheen says, not my circus, not my show. Let him move on. And if Chris has anything to say or anything that he needs, it's for Chris, not for us. We're the spectators enjoying the show, eating popcorn, you know. So that's my take on it.
So you don't need an explanation in order to support him. You support him regardless.
I think that it's nice to be included in the apology, but I don't need one. He didn't slap me. You know, his mama doesn't even need one. He didn't slap her. His kids, you know, it's the person that you do the infraction to needs the apology, and however they choose in whatever time frame that they choose to accept it is up to them. You know, Chris was embarrassed, all those things that came with it, but Chris was able to pivot and move on. So how quickly Chris moves on from it is his prerogative. It's almost like death. And
Okay.
people say, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss," but it takes years to recoup a divorce, whatever it is. So however Chris wants to do it, they need to go ahead and just rock on, let it just go. It's been a year. The numbers don't lie, you know. And for all those who are out there, if you want to take me out on a date, take me to the movie, I would love to be able to go and see it because I am still a fan. That is a show. You know,
Yeah.
it was a movie. It's a classic, and
So
everybody's can make mistakes.
I
And he made a
definitely want to
public
get I want to get everybody's reaction to the film if they've seen it. I want to bring one more person back up. So Sophie, thank you. Hang out for me
one.
in the green room. So I want to bring Drew back to the stage. Drew, a few people have disagreed with you and have said that they don't believe that Will Smith owes anyone an explanation. I mean, Sophie said he owes an explanation to the person that he hurt, not even Chris's mom. You know, Tony, and you know, let me get Tony back up to the stage. Tone, you said that you know, are we gonna be critical on Sukiana? Are we gonna be critical on Carisha? Are we gonna be critical on Megan and Tori before we support them? So your point is, why are we trying to cancel people? Like, I feel like there's something here. So what are you really saying? And Drew, how do you respond to what Tony is about to say? So go ahead, Tone.
I think Chris Rock's special describes it perfectly. Selective outreach.
So Drew, do you feel that you have selective outrage or people that are looking for an explanation in saying that he needs to do an interview? Because basically Stephen A said he needs to do a sit-down interview and he needs to explain to Black America what he was thinking and what he was doing. And Will has already apologized to Chris via Instagram. He's already asked to meet with Chris, and Chris's group said no. Chris will reach out when he's ready. And it's been, what, a year or two since the slap? 2 years since the slap, a year since the apology, something like that. He's been banned from the Oscars for 10 years. So what do you say to people, Drew, that says, hey, if you're not going to support Will Smith, you just have selective outrage because he's already done all he can as an individual to ask for forgiveness, to try to repent, to try to make it right. What do you say to that, Drew?
Okay, so it's a lot. There's so many layers to this. First of all, we live in America. The American justice system does not prevent crimes from happening. It only punishes crimes. Will Smith being punished, that's not the goal for me, okay? I don't want Will Smith canceled. If you don't want to cancel Will Smith, to me, canceling means society as a whole shuts down your ability to maybe earn income. I'm not saying he needs to be shut down. I'm saying for me personally, I'm done with him. And there's some personal reasons for that. I don't think he's a great actor. I don't think Bad Boys is great. I mean, come on, man. Martin Lawrence looks like he's a paraplegic or something. But that's beyond, that's neither here nor there. So let me say this about Will Smith. It's about restoration, not penalty. I don't care that you've been banned from the Oscars. Like, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for the relationship? Next of all, America also has a different set of rules for people with financial means. The reason why O.J. Simpson got off was because he was a man of financial means. If that was me or you, and our white wife had passed away or died, we would be in jail. So the stakes are higher. Will Smith is supposed to be an example. So if we want to limit this to the Black community, let's look at it like this. Will Smith did something that he can get off with because he's got money. He's got cred. He's got worldly credentials that I don't have. Dave Life doesn't have. Tony Love doesn't have. If we walked up to somebody at work and slapped them, come on, bro. We're not going to be a project league. We're not going to be anything.
So is the issue here that Will Smith has money and can get away with it? Is the issue that he has status? Is the issue that he slapped Chris Rock? And some have said that, oh, Chris Rock isn't as plugged into the Black community like he used to be, so he slapped the right Black dude. Or like what's the real issue? Because you said the issue isn't
the real
penalties,
issue here for me is
how does he restore himself? How does he get restored?
An explanation, a sincere, soul-bearing explanation that says, I got tired of my wife getting passed around like a cheap blunt, and I took it out on somebody who wouldn't strike back. That's all. If I heard him say something like that, I'd be okay with Will Smith.
Tony, do you require that sort of explanation for restitution or no?
Well, he alluded to the criminal justice system. And one thing they say in the criminal justice system is the pen is almightier than the sword. And so I would argue that Chris Rock got his licks back 10 times over intellectually the way he dogged out his wife, the same way you just alluded to, the way he dogged out his family, the same way you just alluded to, that can really hurt 10 times more than a slap, depending on who you ask. And so I would argue that the public embarrassment that Will Smith endured, that really exposed, that slap really exposed how weak he was as an individual at that time, right? He was exposed. To me, that in itself is like, oh, he knows he was exposed, right? To me, with the special, the public embarrassment that he endured, all that to me is enough, as you would say, penalty. I know you say it's not about penalty, but to me, that's enough for us to say, okay, you know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I to say you owe me an apology? You don't owe me shit, because you ain't gonna miss my $13.75 out that movie theater. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's plenty of people gonna watch that movie. You know what I mean?
Let me jump in here real quick, because
Before you jump in, I want to bring the others to the stage because I want to make sure everybody's getting a chance to respond. Come on back, Sheena. Come on back, Sophie. All right, so Drew, go ahead and say what you were going to say, because I want to get Sophie and Sheena's responses as well.
So my thing about him saying that he is a man of financial means, he's supposed to be a role model. He's supposed to be an example. And so when I hear his son talking about that's how we roll, man, shut up. Okay, first of all, every parent would tell your kid, you don't hit back because of words, right? And this is what he did. He heard words that weren't even directed at him, and he went up and physically assaulted someone. Okay, so for us to applaud that and say that was some sort of example, I have a problem with that. I've also heard lots of Black females say that they're okay with it because he was protecting Black women, the honor of Black women, which is rarely protected, as well as Chris Rock assaulting or insulting, I should say, a Black woman's hair. So I know a lot of Black women tend to side with Will Smith on that, and I think it still blurs what happened is that you physically assaulted somebody. He escalated the situation. All Chris Rock did was say some words. He could have said what he said after the slap. Keep your name's wife out my mouth. He could have yelled it. He could have screamed it, and I would have been fine. I would have been like, there you go, protect your wife's honor. But to walk up there with that embarrassed look on your face, slap him and go sit down and do all this cussing, none of that is Will Smith. Will Smith's not from the hood. Will Smith is not like that. And so for me, it just seemed like he was out of character trying to prove something, but again, to the wrong target. If that was 50 Cent, he wouldn't have done that. If 50 Cent was Will Smith, he wouldn't have done that. 50 Cent would have just gave Chris Rock a look, and Chris Rock would have shut up. So because he did this publicly in the view of America, I need more than just an apology to Chris Rock. I need an explanation.
You as a consumer, or you as a Black person?
Me as a consumer, and let me jump on something. Me as a consumer, because something Queen Sheen said that I disagree with. We do pay his bills. We consume and provide. We pay. I paid for the albums. I watched The Fresh Prince, mostly because of Hillary Bank, and I also watched Bad Boys. So if it's not for us, I guarantee if no one went to see this movie, he'd be shut down. But we did. So now he's back. Embarrassment to a millionaire? That doesn't mean anything.
So Sheena and Sophie, does he owe Black people an apology? Is it because he picked on the wrong person? You know,
I'm still saying no, because at the end of the day, like Tony said, people make mistakes all the time. So who knows? Like even Sophie said, we don't know what this man is going through. Granted, like I said before, it wasn't the right thing to do. Obviously, he acted out of character and he let his emotions get in the way. But at the end of the day, we all F up. We all do something that's not right. And so, Drew, I don't know if it's because you just not a fan of Will Smith and you don't like him and you don't think he's a good actor and you just need this explanation. But I just think if he is apologizing to Chris Rock for what he did, that apology, even if it's not sincere, he did his due diligence. Mm-hmm. Chris Rock has these specials. He getting paid. He in his bag. And my question is, like Tony said, why y'all bringing it up now? This man in his bag, he's trying to get his money, and y'all talking about a whole slap, about an apology to sit down. I just think that's messy. I think that's messy. Just to sit down with Stephen A. Smith, and because I know how he is and he wants to talk about it, I think he want to get his reviews up as well. So it's still a no for me.
Fake outrage, Sophie. Is it fake outrage from people like Stephen A., from people like Drew, that say, hey, look, I need Will Smith to explain to me what happened. He picked on a guy that he shouldn't have picked on. He's a bully. He wouldn't have done that with 50. He wouldn't have done that with Mike Tyson. Is it selective outrage because we're like, you need to make me feel better? Or is Drew and Stephen A. Smith justified in saying, hey, you embarrassed us, and before I give you my money, you need to explain to us why you did that?
I would say everyone's right and no one's right. And I like to read a scripture from the book of Smith. It says, now this is a story about how my life got flipped, turned around, upside down. And I'd like to take a minute to just sit right there. And I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. In West Philadelphia, born and raised, on the playground was where I spent most of my days, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, all shooting some b-ball outside of the school. Or you could say, at the award ceremony.
Oscars.
When a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble
in my neighborhood
here with my wife. I got in a little fight and my mom got scared. So she said, you're moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel Air. I begged and I pleaded. I gave an apology online on my podcast. I'm just ad-libbing here. But she packed up my suitcase and sent me on my way. She gave me a kiss and she gave me my ticket. I put my Walkman on and said, I might as well kick it. And I feel like, Will Smith, he was just, some other guys were up to no good. And however he decided to defend himself, and I do agree with Drew that he wouldn't have done it if it was a 50 Cent. When you're like a weak, we all know that Will is not like, he's not like throwing hands. He's not the guy that you want to be in the dark alley. He just didn't really give up. That's why Jada, let's just be real. That's why Jada is kind of like, she really wants a Tupac, so he's still trying to, knuckle people up, widen up, how the song goes, somebody help me out, he's just trying. So he thought that he could do it with somebody who he knew, because Chris Rock, no shade against Chris Rock, but he's not really even that type of guy,
right,
that I would want to be in a dark alley and somebody says, put your hands up. I don't feel like I'm going to feel protected with either of them. So I would say, Drew, maybe you can jump in and help me out. It was kind of an equal, I would have actually enjoyed a little banter, a little swing back. But because they were both on equal playing fields, I think if it was the other way around, Will would have responded the same way Chris did. Because they're both the same type of guys. They're not alphas. They're more of a beta type of guy. So Will just tried to exert himself with somebody who he knew he could.
So Sophie, are you inferring that Chris Rock was actually the bully and that Will Smith was defending himself and his wife's honor?
I would say yes, because when a bully is bullying, they know which triggers to use against you. We don't know, so he was saying something insensitive, but it's also a joke. So what type of platform but sometimes 90% of a joke is, as Tony would probably agree with, is that the reason why it's funny is because it's true. Mm-hmm. So as a man, if you know that it's true, you got a bald head woman, and then for those with alopecia, please don't come for me. I've had alopecia. My stuff was smooth and bald and patchy. It's not now. Mine was the kind that, you kind of treat it, de-stress, and it grows back. But Jada's don't really look like, and that's no offense to, maybe y'all can educate me, but she doesn't have the alopecia that, oh God, help
patchy.
Me. You guys know what I'm saying? That's patchy, that I've seen. I have family members. I have a niece that is completely bald-headed, no eyebrows. So Jada doesn't really give off. I know she's saying that, but get a weave, get a lace front,
I got a question to the panel. What do you guys say to those that say that this is fake? Because I know Big Corey G said in the chat, he said it's fake. He said, I don't even believe the slap was real. Tone, do you feel okay? It could be fake, it could be staged, it could be Hollywood, or no? That was a real smack.
It was real. It was definitely real. There were people that had confirmed it. The rage that Tony Rock had, it was definitely real. There's no question about that. And Jada looking like Reggie Miller, that was real too. That was not staged. All that was real.
Man, y'all are killing y'all killing Jada tonight. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm like, goodness, Reggie Miller.
She was announcing on TNT. I mean, that was real.
Now, if you were there, he might have slapped you that night, Tony. What happens then if Chris Rock, if Will Smith slapped?
Lawsuit. I'd have been in Bad Boys 4. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Slap me. I'm in the mood.
I know that's right.
Slap the shit out of me.
I know that's
I'm
right.
a wish. I know. I'd be. I wish a nigga would.
I would have been in Bad Boys 4, 5, and 6.
Slap me.
Exactly. Give me a cameo.
We call Bad Girls, Sheena. If y'all was in it, y'all would have changed the name.
I'd have been Detective Torres from New York Undercover on that motherfucker. You understand me?
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. So look, y'all. Let's try to reach a consensus on this. This whole discussion started from Stephen A. Smith saying that that Will Smith owes an apology to Black people. All right. Most of the panel is Black. Tony is Puerto Rican. Am I right, Tone?
That is correct.
All right. And Black? Okay.
But Puerto Ricans derive from African descent, but whatever.
Absolutely.
Come on now.
All right, Tone. Come on.
Come on
Black.
now.
I'm with that. But so here we are. Do we really feel, and Drew, I'm coming straight to you on this one, man. Do we really feel that as a people, man, Will Smith needs to apologize to us. He embarrassed us. Black, and in fact, let's paint the picture. The Oscars that year was produced by Will Packer, if I'm not mistaken. They had Black hosts, not just Chris, but other people. It was a big deal. Other people that got their Oscars, it wasn't shown on TV because they were trying to handle things. It was a big thing where Will Smith's actions embarrassed a lot of professional Black actors, producers, writers in Hollywood, and maybe even us here in the audience. So, Drew, do you really feel that he owes an apology? I know you said an explanation to you as a consumer, but to like the entire Black race, to all of us, or what, man?
I can see where Stephen A. is coming from that, because I'm not worried about the producers of the Oscars. I'm worried about the everyday man, because things trickle down. Will Smith is up at the top. He's in the ivory tower. And when white America or even immigrants say things like, well, Black people are violent, Black people don't handle emotion well, they're this and that, and then I go to work and I'm viewed in that light because of Will Smith, then yeah, I mean, that stuff has to be considered. It has to be talked about. And I know people will disagree with that, but my thing with Will Smith is this, right? Cops have killed Blacks over the anticipation of violence.
Right.
And you want to come up here in a white collar affair because somebody slapped you or insulted your wife when she giving it up to other people? Like, I just can't be cool with that. I just can't be cool with that. So yeah, in a sense, I can see where Stephen A. is coming from. That's not really my cross to bear or my burden, but yeah, I can see how there can be a trickle down effect as related to his actions.
Tony, does he owe the Black race an apology, or was Stephen A. pushing for views?
Of course, Stephen A. wants clicks. Of course, he wants, like, that's what he gets paid for. And I don't think he owes anybody anything. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my opinion. But good luck getting it, because that man living his life, going to movie premieres, watching his own movie. He not thinking about that. This man getting paid millions of dollars. Chris Rock getting paid millions of dollars. They made so much revenue off that slap. And while, folks like us sitting here talking about it on podcast.
Yeah, I did see how Will Smith went to the Cinemark theaters and watched the movie with the audience, and he let them know, and everyone began to celebrate. What's that, Drew?
Control. That's just damage control. The slap, apology. So Bad Boy. It's all
I see.
It's a year later. Like, when are we?
Yeah.
Okay,
2 years.
So
2 years.
It's been 2 years later. Okay, so we're expecting as a Black community. Huh? Diddy gets nothing. It's no comparison. And I was waiting for somebody to bring it up. Diddy gets no time, because that is different. And I'll just need you to say, do you just wait before I continue talking? Okay, you do. So that's different. But it's still.
But explain to me why it's different. Explain to us why it's different.
It's different because it was sexual assault. It's drugging. It's molestation. It's being an FBI. It's a whole nother legal FBI. It's like a whole nother thing. This is a man, and it's a black man that we know. It isn't like, oh, Jada is presenting and Will Smith are presenting themselves as the old, I don't know, the Obamas, where we know nothing about their trauma, Will's embarrassment, about how Jada treats him, all of that. So I'm curious because I'm again, you know, Antonia's had to counsel me, and Dave has too. Like, it's not, you don't have to get upset when they come for black men or black women. But I'm for black men. When they say a real ass bitch don't give a fuck about a nigga, I do. I care about a nigga. I care about the black and brown man. I care because I don't like when women, whatever color she is, abuses a man. It's specifically a black man. And I feel like Will is being abused by Jada, not once, not twice, but
I
over
agree.
and over again.
I agree.
So this guy is, and I make jokes about it, but he really is just somebody who's still trying to find himself. So for me to say, because he thought he was doing something that was going to like avenge her, and he really made a bad call. But that's what those type of men do. You know, they're gonna try it with the waiter. They're gonna try it with the 60-year-old, you know, security guard. They ain't really gonna try it with no 50 Cent, you know, but they're gonna try it to just try to show, you know. And I really hope for Will that he can really, you know, resolve in who he is, and like grow through that and just be comfortable in his own skin. So I'm not gonna beat him up. I feel like he made a decision based off of his circumstances. We all know Will ain't no. He's not about it. He's only a bad boy in Bad Boys.
Yeah.
I think you really have to take into. I'm sorry. I think you really have to take into consideration the psychological trauma that Jada puts Will through. Again, not giving him excuses, but it's evident. As soon as Chris Rock said that, Jada leaned over and said, "Tupac would have never. Tupac would have never let me like that." And he said, "What?"
Yeah.
And he got up there and he turned into Tupac in his head. He had to be Tupac. And this woman keep bringing that man up, wishing him happy birthday. I wish he was my baby daddy. And I'm just like, but that just shows how weak he is to stay with a woman like that who does not respect and admire him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
That's right.
So Tony, you guys are getting on to a great point, which is Will Smith's mental health. And I'll briefly say this. I don't feel that Will Smith owes anyone else an explanation, a sit-down interview, or an apology. I personally feel that Will Smith addressed it as publicly as he could. In the clip that we saw earlier, he reached out to Chris's camp. Chris's camp said, "I'm not ready to talk." And Chris went on to do his special, make money, get his lick back. And Will and Jada called him all types of B's and everything else, and made money, and seemingly has moved on with his life. So I'd like to ask the panel, why can't Will Smith move on with his life? Go do his movie. Well, he released the movie where he played the slave right after the slap. He now has done Bad Boys 4 with Martin. He's been helping Martin get through the interviews and helping him get to stage and showing himself as a friend to another comedian, Martin Lawrence, who's also a black man that we love. And I'm looking, and you know, Drew, I reached out to you in private and said, hey, he's showing himself as a friend. How can we not show that this man is trying to turn a different leaf? The slap was one slap. He has 30 years of no slaps. So we can never forgive Will Smith. He can never be back in the limelight because he slapped one person. I disagree with that. I feel like he's redeemed himself. I feel like he has reached out for repentance. Chris has said, I got you on hold, bro. I'll get back to you. He said, all right. You can't wait for someone to forgive you when you've asked them publicly and you've done all you can. You got to move on. What do you say to that, Drew?
Real quick, you know, Sophie quoted the gospel of Willie. Matthew talks about bringing your gift to the altar. And it says, if you remember that your brother has something against you, it says, go to this friend and make things right. It didn't say issue a public apology. Call me when you want to talk. No, it said go make things right.
Hold up.
Forgiveness is for.
I gotta stay on this point. How do you make something right when the other person don't want to talk to you?
That's correct.
There you go.
How do you make something right?
No,
nah.
This wasn't a Diddy type situation. Okay, this wasn't a
But you
situation
can't make
where
nobody
Will
call
Smith
you.
needed to go to prison. I guarantee he could have put enough zeros on the check I guarantee he could have made some sort of deal where Chris Rock would have been like, okay, my brother. Or he could have just said, hey, man, I'm tired of my wife being out in the streets and I took it out on you. There is something that could have been said where Chris Rock could have said, okay, man, I understand. Make the check out to Chris Rock.
For what?
But why?
Like, I need help because he said no. Because, I mean, I'm trying to go into the corners of my mind and understand. Because when somebody tells you,
publicly, I'm just saying, I don't think he's tried hard enough publicly. The slap was public.
So that's for you. So publicly, it's not. Yeah, it's for you. So if somebody, the Bible says, if the right hand offends you, cut it off. Since you want to kind of like go into scriptures, and that I also have to understand that forgiveness is for you.
Yeah.
So you can move on.
Yeah.
I have had. I've been wiped with the floor with something. So when you apologize to somebody, it's up to them. Because if they don't forgive, that's like, what do they say? It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. So if Chris Rock don't want to accept the apology, that's on him. Will is allowed to move on. Just like the other comedian who her kid is going out there talking crazy, that blah, 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 blah. She had an issue with Oprah and
you talking about Monique?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's tried in her own way, and whether or not her son wants to forgive her, it's on him. I got kids too. There may come a time I'm gonna make a diss track. Y'all go ahead. Y'all want to go ahead and have something about me? Hey, I did the best that I could, and if my apology for whatever wrong, and this goes for anybody, because I know y'all watching. If I've done you wrong and you want to come for me or come at me or any type of way legally or professionally, whatever it is, and I've apologized, and you want to go ahead and dissect, because there is a certain way, there is an order in which you should apologize. You should not make it about yourself. You should apologize for the infraction. You should apologize for how whatever the person has expressed to you that it makes them feel. You should acknowledge all of that. Go ahead.
I want to jump in because you reminded me of this, and this is so important. Mm-hmm. Contrast the Will Smith apology that we just saw at the beginning of this broadcast with the Diddy apology. Will Smith apologized to Chris. He said his name. He reached out. Diddy, I know that he had a gag order. He can't say her name, but that was empty. But nonetheless, it was empty. It was all about him. Man, and I'm apologizing, but guess what? I've sought help. I've got professional help. I've done this. I've done that. Man, it's hard to look back. Okay, so the video just comes out, and now you're saying you've already fixed it. That don't sound right, Diddy.
But first off, Diddy apologized from the same island Russell Simmons is in right now with no extradition. So he knew exactly what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? He knew that was fake, and he know they can't extradite him. If Russell Simmons was right there.
And to Will's credit, Will was broken up, y'all. So
he's an actor, David. He's an actor. Come on.
But man, according to you, a bad actor.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So and also like he was getting jiggy with it. He was getting jiggy with it after the show. Now I'm gonna get a little personal.
At the Oscars,
for a brief moment, I'm gonna get personal, because I'm in a conundrum. I'm vacillating between. I was hit by a drunk driver, May 10th last year, 2023, right? There probably was a gag order where she could not apologize to me, right? So the first time I'm seeing her was Friday. I'm in court. I'm giving my testimony, get sworn in. I'm telling my story. I'm telling how I feel. This chick puts her hand up on her hip and is giving me like a screw face. So I was like, oh, based off of her like physical response, I don't really see like she's showing any remorse. So I tell my story and I look to the judge. I'm like, you know what? I think you need to go ahead and do what you need to do, because based off of the last time I saw her, when she ruined my Tesla, actually totaled it out. She hurt two of the people that was driving with me, broken skull, broken pelvis, broken hips. All right. And now it's the time for you to at least show some type of remorse. And whichever way you choose, you got your hand up on your hip. I told the judge, do what you got to do. There was no fatalities. She got 10 years for a DUI. Never heard of. So I feel like if somebody is not showing remorse in whatever way, if she would have shown a little bit of remorse or something, I wouldn't have went so hard. And I was kind of just, going through the flow. So I thought with Will, we can't tell somebody exactly how they need to apologize, especially when somebody's not wanting it. If I would have told her, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to hear from you, I wake up every day, I'm in pain, you don't got nothing to say to me, then all she can do is just say it and leave it as it is. So Chris Rock said, I think he said, and I quote, I don't give a fuck about it, or I don't care, or something like that. And he has moved on. So why are we picking up the bag for Chris when Chris said, I think he said, I don't give a fuck.
Right. So
Why are we?
Right. It would seem like we need some sort of apology for our ego before we'll open up our wallets. Now we got to close the show out because I know everyone has things to do. But I want to ask this one question, and everyone just give me a brief answer to this. Did you see the movie? And do you think it was worth the $104 million that it made? Sophie, did you see the movie?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it yet?
We need to go, Queen. And Tony can take us.
Tony, you heard
or Drew. Where you stay at, Drew?
We'll watch it on the Fire Stick. It might be bad hombres but we'll watch on the Fire Stick. Los hombres malos.
Right. Drew,
Okay.
have you seen it, Drew? You said you're not going to see it
From
until
my cold, dead hand.
Really?
From my
Wow.
cold,
Oh, I
dead
wish we had more
No,
time.
I'm done with Will Smith. I'm done with Will Smith. I'm done with it.
that sounds like it's personal.
Are you done with who else are you done with? I'm curious. Who else are you done with? R. Kelly, Diddy, who else? I'm just curious. Who you're done
I
with?
mean, yeah.
Well,
Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, Diddy, who else had cases?
I mean, there are people who universally we're done with. We're done with R. Kelly, Bill Cosby.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was done with Diddy. I mean, I've been done with Diddy, right?
Okay.
Diddy can't rap. I mean, what is this guy? Just a producer? I'm done with him. I've been done with him. So
Okay.
Ray Rice, done with him. But this one, this is the only person other than Donald Trump that I'm done with. I like you resort to violence.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you a little bit more. Part of my problem with suburban blacks is that they want to toe the line, and then when it's time to bring out the blackness, then they want to revert to something that makes them feel and seem more black, like bringing a gun to a football game. Dude, you had a 98% white high school. You don't need to get hard because that's what's in the hip hop. That's what's in the culture. Going up here to slap Chris Rock, to me, it was a grab at something cultural. Just like when Kobe got the tattoo, I got to make Black America accept me. Come on,
disagree.
man, don't be doing that stuff.
I
Not
disagree.
my beloved Kobe.
I disagree.
Wait a second now, Drew.
That's
God
a whole
rest
nother
his soul.
that's a whole nother news topic.
Kobe and his tattoo.
I'm a Kobe hater too.
What?
We can definitely talk about
Wait a
we
second now.
can talk about cultural appropriation within the black
The
race.
beloved. I need to see your eyes, Drew. I need to see your eyes now.
I have to act more black. We can definitely talk about that in the next episode of Dave Life TV News. But I disagree. I don't think that Will Smith was appropriating anything or trying to act hard. I think Will Smith, when he slapped him, he really Will from Philly, man.
Oh,
Will from Philly, dude. Will is from Philly, man. If you ask his crew, he not weak, and his crew ain't weak.
When I was in high school,
Will from Philly. That's all I got to say.
Brothers who didn't listen to his stuff because they said it was weak in high school, Dave.
But you got to separate. You got to separate the artist and their music from the person themselves. So in these Hollywood circles, I hear that Will Smith is not weak. He may not be a fighter unless he has to.
So he's the Wayne Brady skit. That's what you're telling me? He's running Hollywood like Wayne Brady? Is Wayne Brady gonna have to slap a bitch? Is that what Will Smith is out doing?
Wayne Brady's extreme.
No.
The Wayne Brady skit was extreme. Wayne was punking people. Wayne was selling drugs. Wayne was punking Dave. Wayne was on a whole nother level. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Will Smith ain't no punk. And you know what? I'll say this too. Just from studying different interviews, I've heard that Diddy got hands too. And I'm not saying that Diddy is the tough guy. I'm not saying Diddy's a tough guy. I'm not saying Will's a tough guy. But I'm saying they come from areas where when you need to knuckle up, you can. So I don't think that Will Smith is a punk.
Because Will Smith was taking all them Taebo classes.
Yes. And
he got the Taebo certifications on the wall.
Yeah. He's an actor, but he's also, some of his stunts he does himself. I think he was probably giving him a pass by slapping him. I think he had the wherewithal still to know if I punch him, I feel like, because
ironically, instead of showing his strengths, he showed how weak he was when he did that.
He did.
Yeah.
He did,
Yeah.
and I do know from living out here, and we're gonna wrap it up on this. I do know from living out here, a lot of people from Chris Rock's camp was like, dude, this should be handled in the streets. I mean,
Yeah.
like that was egregious. And if something happened to Will in the streets wouldn't have any problem with it because that deserves that, because Chris didn't deserve it. And so Chris handling it the way he did was top notch. But look,
And here's
guys,
another thing a lot of people don't know. Chris Rock has autism.
Really?
He's autistic.
I didn't know that. Is that real?
I
Or
can see that.
No,
I
for
can
real,
see
he's
that.
autistic.
I didn't know
Yeah, I
that.
can see
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So that's why Tony Rock was like, fuck that. I mean, but nah, it's up when I see him.
I did not know that at all. And Tony Rock and Chris Rock were really good friends with Will. Like they were born. You know, so and here's one other thing that we failed to mention, Drew. Chris Rock allegedly hit on Jada when he thought that Jada and Will were going through a divorce. He hit on Jada to ask her out. So there may
That
be
goes to show how autistic he is. He doesn't pick up on stuff like
read
that.
the room.
He can't. Yeah.
Listen, man. There's something behind that slap. I'm not saying the slap was justified or right, but I'm just saying that not all parties are not innocent. Both parties may have had a lot going on.
Yeah.
You could say that Chris Rock bullied in a way. Now, of course, words don't justify hitting, and I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying just because you got a war of words, somebody needs to assault somebody. But I'm saying from a man standpoint, something could push Will Smith over the edge if he was already dealing with a lot of mental stress. And I feel like the apology that we saw, that whole thing, I feel like the apology that we saw, he was mentally and emotionally struggling to get through that.
They listen to All Eyes on
insensitive.
Me. All the way to the Grammys, they listen to All Eyes on Me.
Yeah. It was an insensitive joke that Chris Rock and his camp should have investigated. It was insensitive. It wasn't like a roast. It wasn't like a Tom Brady roast where they ended up bringing up Kim Kardashian and Kanye. It was a very insensitive joke.
Yeah.
The Grammys is not. I wasn't expecting it.
The Oscars.
And
Just
you know,
want to clear
at the
everybody. It was
Oscars, it was very insensitive. And as Will was saying, keep my wife's name out your mouth. Did we hear? Oh, my bad. You know. And if now we're pulling the autism card, was he kind of like, he didn't do any of that, nor has he used that as a reason for why he did what he did. You know, so it's a situation between two men, however strong we see that they are. I feel like both of them may have their trainings and all that stuff, but when it really comes down to it, they reacted the way that they needed to react. I feel like it was egregious. There's never a situation where you should have to put hands on you, especially if no one has put hands on you first, to do that, and then publicly. That was wrong, Drew. That I agree with you 1,000%. That was wrong, and it probably could have been handled outside in the streets. Will chose a different method. It's been 2 years.
There it is.
Chris is not messing with it. If we can't leave it alone, that's really on you. And also, is it really having an impact on the money? Because the numbers don't lie.
Right now, it's not.
You know, right now it's not. And
second
what
best
does it matter
opening.
tomorrow?
Right.
What's the numbers? Dave, what's the numbers?
104 million worldwide, 56 million domestically. Second best opening in the franchise.
And Drew's gonna take me out this weekend.
Well,
we're gonna go ahead and see some teeth. We're gonna go out. You're gonna sit right next to me.
With my eyes
And you're gonna go ahead and watch it. Matter of fact, I'll pay for it. You're gonna come sit right next to me. And we're gonna see if we cancel.
We'll talk about that offline because Drew's taken. You spoken for Drew. I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay. She can come too.
Okay. So wifey can
Drew
come.
seems like he ain't got no Jada.
Wifey can come.
And I'm not even on that time. It's about the principle of the matter.
Support.
Yeah, I want him to just see. You know, now if you didn't like the first one, then it's a dub.
Well, look, let's end it here because I know a few people got to go. Let's end it here. I want to say thank you to comedian Tony Love. Thank you to that girl Sophie. Thank you to Queen Sheen, and thank you to Drew, my homeboy Drew X. I appreciate all of you guys for joining. Thank you for all of your input, and we will see you guys next time on Dave Life TV News. Thank you, everybody. This is Dave Life with DLTV News. Make sure you follow and subscribe Dave Life TV and follow hashtag DaveLifeTV News for all of your latest updates on the Will Smith controversy, on the Trump issues, on Diddy, and any other breaking news. We'll see you next time on Dave Life TV News. Peace.